Yo, what's going on? So we've been building AI agents for the past few days now. And interestingly, I realized I didn't mention one thing, which I'm going to go over. And this thing that I'm going to mention is something that I've not really heard anybody talk about. Though it has been mentioned on make.com's documentation often, but I've not really seen anyone do this. Obviously, there are people doing it, but I've not seen anyone make a video on YouTube. There's nothing specific about this, and it's quite concerning because if you don't have something like this, I've seen one on anything, but no one video specifically about make.com. So you need to remember the AI agents I'm building here, it's also a similar process also on anything as well. So what I'm going to show you now, we've been building an agent that has access to a couple of tools, and you've gotten to understand that we need to be able to specify our instructions starting from, that's layer one now, prompt engineering. We need to know exactly what we're doing. We need to specify, we need to break down the instructions very well, and we also need to give the tool names and the descriptions as clear as possible so the tool knows what it's going to pick. And when you see here what I did here, I brought out two similar tools that the AI agent could make mistakes on, but we're able to clearly define what each tools were. This one is to log all the entire leads, right? While this one is only to log in or save the qualified leads that we have. So, and these qualified leads are hot or warm leads, right? So this doesn't have the cold leads, but this does. So we're able to specify this. Now there's something I did not mention, and this is also something I didn't mention while we're in the AI automation layer. That's the layer 2. And that is the fact that you can actually call another scenario from somewhere else, from a different scenario to this particular one. Now you need to understand that this is an entire scenario as well. And what we're going to do now is, if you do remember, while we were building tools for your business, basically, while you were building your tools for your business, we were able to have this abstract API to validate emails. We also built one which was hunter.io, and that's to research companies. Then we look up these companies to get enough details about them and about the industry they are in. And we also get all of these things together, and it's going to help us probably on our outreach or anything that we're working on. We have these two already in place, plus an extra one that I left here. We have 1 and 2, right? That's for what we have here. So now the next one that we're going to add in is this validate email, research company, and send proposal. We have it already. So these two, remember we already built it, but when we did build it, I remember we added this here instead. So let's take a look at our previous automations. Okay, so we're in. If you do remember when we're building this is our phone validation and our email validation here. The one for the research company, I believe we didn't add it right inside here because we're collecting their websites, but we're actually collecting that. Let's take a look at this. We're not collecting their website, so we didn't bother adding it here. But if you, in any case, where you are running a B2B, it can even be a B2C, and your form has a place where you are collecting probably their website or their business name. So that's the case where you can use hunter.io, where you have to research their company. In this case, you might also likely have to probably get their country or states, depending on where you are running this, and where your target audience are as well. If it's probably within the same state or the same location, you might not have to do that. But if you are running this internationally, you likely have to do that, because you need to consider that people might have similar names, though it depends on how they register their name. If people register their name too, they would likely not have the same name. But there are many cases when you use this and it might likely give you the wrong details. So you need to be very sure. And one of the things I do is, though I use a separate software entirely, a different service, I use their domain name. So in this case, rather than asking for, let's just use this, I'm using this as example, it has nothing to do with this. I'm trying to look at the field from the form we created on Tally. So we have our name, that's your name, your client's name, your client's email, your client's WhatsApp number, the monthly budget, and the business challenge, right? Now you can assume a situation where you ask a new field now, and you ask them for their company website. Now you can use that instead to run a very precise research on their company. This might need something like a service like clay.com is what I use, and this is something you can also check on. I really love Clay. I use it personally for my business as well. So here's Clay. Okay. So here's Clay. Clay is a go-to marketing service, and basically this is actually what I use for my own business, and that is what I use for startups and founders as well. So this is where what I actually use to get precise information and details about leads, or basically our outreach target audience as well. This is what I use specifically, so you can check it out. And in this case, you might need to get, if you want to do what I just mentioned, you might need to get like an API, you might need to pay, and it's a bit pricey, but it works very well, and it's a service I actually I like a lot, and I use it for also my clients as well. So anyway, now back to this. You do understand everything I've said. So in any case where you want to be precise and you want to use like a domain, you could do the same right on hunter.io. I just never tried that. Can I let's just start. Can I research domain? I didn't use this much, to be honest. I didn't use hunter.io much. Domain of companies. So yeah, it will likely be yes. Obviously, I mean it's hunter.io. I never really touched this. I used it in the past, and I got to a point I realized, okay, the hype about Clay came in, so I just ignored that. But obviously, it should do that in the first place. So anyway, hunter.io, Apollo should also do that. Okay, this you could also use Apify. I mean, since that one could also connect across. Since you have actors, you can do this easily. You can even do it in the free plan as well. So, and that could save you, at least to try most of this, could save you a bunch, basically. So you can check out those platforms. I'm not going to cover those today. So basically what we want to do now is we want to call on another scenario, right? So to call on another scenario, there's something different that we need to do. While we had this here, I needed to bring it out. Because if I'm going to call this entire scenario, it's going to run through every single thing we have here, and I don't want that, right? So I had to bring this out, and I created something like this. Now after creating this, I needed to also do this. Now there's something, this is going to be very interesting because there are a lot of things I have not mentioned that I believe that I'm going to mention here. Now one thing I'm going to say here is that when you see this is actually a module that you can just call on easily. Add module, and you can search for scenario here. So you can see here scenarios, and you can see start scenario, call a scenario, return output, customize run name. These are the 4 things that here, and the one we are going to use here is to start a scenario. That is it here. Now when we start this scenario, what exactly are we trying to do? What are we trying to get? We want to start this scenario because we cannot just start right from here. Though I would have said it was possible, but we need some sort of inputs from somewhere else to run what we have here. So in this case, I the start scenario, and it's going to say open scenario inputs, which is obviously what will pop out here. When you do this, it's going to request you for something here, and that is what you have here. That's email. This is the input. This is what is coming in. So that is what is going to request here. I added email here by myself. You can add whatever you want to add in. And it's asking for a scenario input, right? So you also have to have, like the same thing, a scenario output as well. Let's just leave and discard this. But remember, I have this saved already. So anyway, for the scenario input, we already have something in, right? That is, any email that is coming in should come in through this way, and I should be able to map this in. Since this is what I really want to use to verify, I should be able to map it in here. That is email. So I get to map it in and I save it. Remember, we have this already built. I should not just be starting, to show you. I should not just start to show you all how to do all this. These are things that we've covered over the last couple of days. Creating body content and a couple of things here are things that you're familiar with, and we're not using any authentication here. Remember, since we're using abstract API, we don't need an authentication in any case. So you save this, and that is that, right? So you've been able to build something that is going to start this scenario. Another thing I want to bring out is that we've been using a couple of triggers, right? A couple of trigger settings rather. We've been using immediately, we've been using polling, that is using time. We're going to probably specify a specific time or this or that, but this time around, what we're going to use is on demand. If you do remember what an on demand does, you actively have to run this by yourself. That is what an on demand is. It's basically saying, anytime I ask you for this, just pop in. You're not going to use time, you're not going to use a webhook, but when I ask you personally for this, that's when I request you to run once for me. That's when you are meant to work. That is what on demand does. And you can see that scenarios with this, a start scenario can only have an on-demand scheduling. Yes, because we are calling this from somewhere else. That is why it can only have this. So we're using this on demand, right? And when we call this from somewhere else, it's going to run this scenario, give us the output back, right? That is basically what it is doing. So now we look at our AI agent itself. How do we make use of this? After building that, we make use of it inside this place. It's very simple. You also have to click on add tools, and you search for scenario, right? That is scenarios, and the only one you can get to use here as a tool is only a call a scenario. Obviously, we have built a scenario somewhere that we're going to start. We want to call it now. That is what we have here. So we use call a scenario, and it's going to pop up for us to choose which scenario we're actually talking about. This is what we have here. So you can see email validation, which was obviously what I used to save it here. You can see this here, and we call it, it's active because we know we have to turn it on, right? So it's active now, and we can add a description. That's this. I already added, use this to verify any email before we send it. I sure did added a couple of things here. Description you give it, use force to check. I just added that one manually by myself just now. So let me just use this. Use this to force check if the lead email is real. We're trying to verify it, right? So let the agent decide. Use this, it doesn't hurt, and wait for scenario to finish. So select yes to wait for the called scenario to finish or return its output before continuing this scenario run. Yes, actually. So when you do that, it's added as a tool also. So we can see that if we have something built somewhere else, we can still call it. You can do the same thing to numerous scenarios as well. You can imagine us also doing it for this. If we actually want to call this entire thing, what does it mean? We have to remove this and just add, that is us removing this and adding the start scenario right here instead. So this will also request for scenario input and output or whatever. So we have to remove this and replace it with this. And when we do that, we're able to call on this entire thing on demand every single time. Or on demand. Anyway, you get me, right? So yes, we have to call on every single thing here. So it's going to run the entire scenario before it even gives us a response here. That is what this is basically doing. And you can imagine doing this for several scenarios. I mean, many things that we've connected here that we've created in the past, we could just connect it easily, very easy, saves you a lot of stress, and you're basically giving your AI agent access to every single tool that you've created. So you could imagine how much power, how much, level of integration that you're giving your AI to your business, because you are literally giving it every single thing it needs to run your entire business. So that's how you can see this entire thing. So when you run that, it's going to verify the email first. Then after verifying, it's going to verify the email first. Then after it does that, it's going to log it in, because it is now a correct email, right? And it's going to save this lead. It's going to send the reply if it is hot or warm. Why it's going to add it here if it is only hot or warm. That's if it is qualified as well. So you can see that what we can do, we can actually build something that also connects to other scenarios that we have created in the past. So which means that you can also do the same thing. I'm not going to do it here, but I expect that this is something you should be able to build now. Just go to each one of them like this, get this off, remove this entirely, delete, and wow, it has a lot connected. So you have to unlink, then use this instead. You have to map every single thing that it needs here. Let's start from here. We have to map in like WhatsApp number. We need to create scenario inputs, remember. So you need to create scenario input for numerous things that you've been using right from here in the first place. So it is a lot. However, if you do it once, you've given your AI agent access to build access to run anything that is going to work for your business. So that is what we have for here. And one thing I'm going to say is that I want you to also do the same for Hunter.io. You can build the same thing for this. That is the only thing I'm telling you to do now. And if you do remember that was why I added the 37 here. I've added all the details for you there, the API as well. I believe I changed the API a bit. So if I did not, you need to check online for the API, for the URL rather, for the base URL. You need to check if that one you are using is still correct or it has been changed. So you need to ensure you check that and just add this description. You create that. You are going to create that here as an HTTP module, and you're also going to add a start scenario that is going to obviously call it. And all you need to do is just create a second one that calls that as well. And once it does, it's going to call this email first, then it's going to call the one that researches the company next. Right after that, is now going to be able to save these leads and send short personalized proposal to them as well. So after doing that, you need to ensure you do one more thing: update the entire thing. This is me updating the entire instruction that orchestrates it, and that is what we have here. That's the words in cap, only if blah blah blah. All these things that we've learned in prompt engineering layer, right? So this you have to use it to update as well. You can see all the research. You are literally giving the AI steps to follow, and it's going to ensure it follows this as well. So you need to update this entire thing in your instruction here, in what you have here. You need to update it here as well. So while doing all this, once you are set, I'm pretty sure that by then you should be able to build something that have access to your other scenarios. You should be able to even build cool projects that are using make.com now that has access to various things. Probably you've built other things that I'm unaware about, which you can also tell me. You can just show me. Let's see the cool things that you've also built for your business, and I should be able to also pick up some ideas from there and probably make a video to talk more about that, or from my own end. And yes, if you have any question, as usual, drop it in comments. Let me see what's up. Let me see your progress, because I would love to know what you've been doing. Since we started working on AI agents together as well. So let's see what's up. And so we're starting. Okay, so tomorrow in the next video, I'm going to explain a couple of things to you. And I plan to explain this because this is something that, remember, you don't hear low-level AI agents often anywhere. You're probably hearing it for the first time in my videos. So I'm going to tell you some of the disadvantages and the right and disadvantages, I would say the limits that we have in low level agents and why we need to scale this up to the other one. So we're basically, you can say we're basically done with building our agent on make.com. All we needed entirely was just what, add this thinking level in this. And remember, you could add a knowledge base as well. The knowledge base requires your files, probably your business or your company files. These are things that you can just what, easily upload this, and the AI knows every single thing that you are talking about in your business every single time. It's able to make reference of details that you have in your company, or details of things that you've added in the knowledge base. So it's going to make reference to these things. They are basically like manuals or textbooks that you have, like in a particular subject, for example, is in a particular field, where it's going to reference them before it's going to perform any action here. That is what it basically does. So that's everything where we have here. We're going to jump into MCPs. We're going to make this a little bit interesting. That's coming from the next couple of days. We're going to make it a little bit interesting. So when we connect our MCP here, we're just going to do this once. We're going to continue the rest in a different platform entirely, because I realize that we've been working on make.com all this while, and I'm pretty sure at this point you are thinking, okay, how do I do this on other platforms, right? So we're going to do this very soon, probably in one video or two videos after this. So all right, looking forward to seeing what you've been building, and yeah, peace.